fun elements like to this walk up the mountain, like those chalk drawings.
Yes. Oh, I have that in my notes for sure.
Awesome. So Yuffie, of course, she leaves us with Barret and Tifa. And I guess she's putting these chalk drawings so that we know where to go, right? She's giving us an arrow, right? And there were 6 of these drawings, and each of them had some kind of arrow with a drawing of like Yuffie and Barret in various emotional stages as like a sort of like telling a story about what had been unfolding with the other members of our party as they walk up the mountain without us. And the first drawing shows a picture of angry Barret, right, with the arrow. Mm-hmm. The second one shows angry Barret and a smiling Yuffie, as though she's like enjoying like mocking Barret into irritation.
Antagonizing him.
Yeah, exactly. And then the third drawing shows Barret like really angry and Yuffie sad, which I took to mean that like Barret must have snapped back something at Yuffie that irked her, right? And then the fourth drawing was of Yuffie lecturing this like sad Barret. And then the fifth was Barret crying.
Oh, wow.
And Yuffie looking surprised, like she didn't realize that she would strike a nerve with her lecture or whatever, and she didn't think it would actually make him feel bad. And then the sixth drawing was a drawing of all 3 characters, Yuffie, Barret, and Tifa, all smiling as if they're now getting along, right? So maybe Tifa helped play peacemaker or something, but they worked it out, right?
Yeah.
And there's a couple reasons for these drawings. So on the surface, since a big arrow accompanies each of these drawings, it seems as though the main purpose of them is to guide us to where we should go. But honestly, the path is pretty clear. Go up the mountain, right? There's a couple times you can take like a right or a left or go up or something.
There's forks in the path.
But you're going to end up basically at the same place no matter what you do, right? The path is pretty clear. So there's not really a need for arrows. So I would make the case, and you probably agree with me, and you can tell me if you don't, that the real purpose behind these little drawn character faces and arrows as they put on there is that story that they tell. And not just because they're fun and entertaining, but because they're a way to show relationship development between Yuffie and Barret right up front, right? So, and that's actually really important. Because remember, so Yuffie just barely joined the party, and right up front, she and Barret kicked off their relationship basically arguing, right? So not up to the greatest start in the party, but if you fast forward through the upcoming dungeon and you go to the town of North Corel that we'll get to later in this discussion, it's Yuffie who is the strongest defender of Barret when he gets crapped on by people in the town, right? So if we hadn't seen those drawings tell this story of Yuffie and Barret coming to this kind of mutual understanding, then we would have gone from Yuffie and Barret fighting to Yuffie strongly defending Barret, which may have felt a little bit abrupt. So I think that these little chalk drawings were a simple way, and I think a pretty good one given the circumstances, to forward the story of Barret and Yuffie's relationship so that it made sense later without having to do like multiple scenes of like character development and interactions between the two of them.
So on my notes, I had put that when I saw the first one, for some reason, the Barret character looked like Dr. Frankenstein's monster. And obviously the rest of them did too.
What's this twist that has suddenly come into the game?
And I kept thinking, I wonder if there's some kind of analog here with like that story where Dr. Frankenstein makes the monster, and then there's like this progression that happens where you actually start understanding the monster and feel sorry for the monster. But that could just be me reading into the fact that it looked like Frankenstein's monster on those drawings.
So are you saying that there's like a parallel with Dr. Frankenstein's monster and Barret the character?
Yeah, and more specifically, over time, as you go through the story, like your level of understanding of the monster changes from one of like horrific stuff to more of like a pity. And then like you said, at the end, it's like everybody's happy, they're all friends. And so I'm wondering if like the two had a parallel, or that was just me like reading it into the fact that these were terrible chalk drawings.
I can see like how you could, get there with that, because Barrett's like this overbearing kind of like, angry, whatever.
You try anything funny, anything, I'll shove you in the Sister Ray, pointed at Wu-Tai, and blast you back home.
Yeesh.
And then him and Yuffie grow to like love each other,
Okay. I doubt.
I don't think that's what's happening, but
I doubt that's what they were consciously.
I can see how that you could think that.
You could think about like, so when we meet Barret, like if you had never played Original 7 and you start playing Remake, right up front, Barret seems like this really harsh, kind of irrational, big, not a buffoon, but like a big, gruff guy.
The hell you think's gonna happen when it's all gone, huh? Answer me!
And it turns out that's not who he is at all. So there is that whole like learning to understand who he is story interwoven in there. I didn't even think about that with the chalk drawings. I thought the chalk drawings were just cute.
His character design is like out of place. Like no person in the entire planet is as big as Barret in this game.
Oh my gosh, if I met somebody his size, I would know what to do.
Yeah.
He's like this hulking titan that's just like, hey, Yuffie. There's actually a scene later on where like he like grabs her shoulder or whatever, and his hand is like the size of like her entire body.
Like here's her arm, and it's like,
so he is kind of like Frankenstein's monster in that respect.
And that's the reason it was so funny when he had that Navy uniform that looked like the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man.
Yeah, he's huge.
Because it just like fit. He was so big and he just looked like it.
Yeah.
That was so funny. It's such a, not fish out of water, but kind of.
No, but he embraced it. I mean, he owned that thing.
Yeah,
like,
but just his hulking size made him look
Yeah.
ridiculous. There's other sailors and you don't pay any attention to them, but when he's in it, you're like, holy crap.
Still looking good.
I was going to say about the chalk drawings for me, I think that's great world building and relationship building. Because
Totally.
anytime that you can kind of lift the load of relationship building and world building that's not in a dedicated cutscene, awesome. Because especially during gameplay, things that you're doing, you know, it's like telling a story, is furthering the relationship, and it's like you've got stuff to do. We can't spend all the time having like these scenes where Barret has to hash it out with Yuffie. We see it, you know, we saw it at the beginning of the mountain where she's teasing him, you know, and she's excited to get up the mountain. But this whole game is about the relationships you have with your friends.
yeah.
Right. And they're from like the island of misfit toys, but they're all together and you love every single one of them.
Yeah.
Right. You love Yuffie for her craziness. You love Barret for his hulking, like brooding leadership, but he's also this caring, loving dad. Yuffie, we have to remember, is like this young, like, I don't know, 14, 15, 16-year-old
I
girl.
think she's 16, yeah.
Okay, so she's 16. Barrett's like, I don't know, in his like late 30s or maybe 40s or something.
Yeah, I think the difference here is Barret is the only one that could legally rent a car today, right?
Sure.
And the rest of them cannot. They're all kids compared to him.
So when you have
Right.
these little chalk drawings and they're crappily drawn, and that adds to Yuffie's personality of not only is it just funny, like the stuff that she actually drew, but the fact that she took the time to draw these things and, you know, direct the player, like she's scouting ahead, but I'm going to kind of tell you like what we did,
Right.
You know?
Yeah, and I would say that that's a pretty creative way to tell story in this game. So I want to give some props to the developer.
Totally.
So whoever came
It's
up with
awesome.
that idea, good job.
Yeah.
Simple, easy.
Yeah, and also there's like the practical aspect of it, right? Like those 6 drawings took an animator like a collective minute each to do versus a couple of $1,000s for a cut scene for each one of those.
Yeah.
There's that too. So it was smart and creative at the same time.
Totally. They were being really efficient and cost conscious at the same time. So
Yeah.
win.
Yeah, I like the chalk drawings.
Yeah, we're fans. We're chalk drawing fans.
Yeah.